Hi, this is Isabel Nicholson with her third and final sketchbook. Let's open up inside. So we left off from the hoodie. I now wanted to tackle this sequin dress. I originally started with a cowl, but didn't think it quite fitted in the collection, so I kind of went for an almost t-shirt cut, which tended to sort of drape a bit more, and I just felt was a bit more modern and more the vibe. Then did some experiments with a zip. I originally planned to put a zip in this garment, but from putting the zip in and hanging it on the actual garment itself, it restricted the sort of flow and the natural drape of the sequin, which I really didn't want to do. So I did try sort of lining the hemming, but again, with the thin and thick one, it did restrict the way the fabric moved. So I thought the best option would be to go for the just turning it in neatly. Then experimented with necklines as well. So you have a really sort of chunky one there. You have a mids chunky one, thin ones, and then I also looked into different sleeves. This one is quite fitted to the shoulder, and then this one here is it's, I forget the technical name, drop shoulder. There you go. And also I really enjoy the ruching effect that the long sleeves give me. So here's a card. That's what it's meant to look like. There we go. So this is just me playing about, 'cause again, I wasn't quite sure. I knew I wanted it, but I didn't know how to style it. So I sort of had these ideas of making some joggers and a top out of it, because I've already planned to do joggers. Felt putting something that heavy on top of it would restrict it, and then I really liked this sort of t-shirt idea. I really liked this idea, so I decided to run with that and do my graphical vinyl t-shirts. All have a message about my brand. This symbol here is actually the Japanese symbol for vermin, which is my brand. Had lots of fun doing this actually. I can't wait to get the vinyl to make them. Unfortunately, my supplier shut down, but I will definitely be making some of these bad boys. And there's just a little nod to the trend there, positive slogan tees, which is very my customer. This was playing around. I realised in my collection I had kind of a gap of tops, so I wanted to play around with the shirt, because that, and do it in a sort of punky way of deconstructing and constructing again. So essentially this is 3 shirts chopped into slithers and reassembled to make one big one, and I really like the effect. I got this kind of like glitched, warped, really elongated pocket, and I really liked that effect. I do really like the garment. I was experimenting with maybe some print on it or some vinyl. I do really like the garment, but when it came to my lineup, I don't think it seemed to fit in. There's a trend there. Oversized, deconstructed, cut and paste collage look. So here I decided I wanted to use some of the scraps of my fabrics that I'd made things out of, and make a kind of scrap hoodie in a way. I had some clothes I wanted to chuck out that were luckily my collection colour, i.e. this knit here and this khaki knit here. So this is me just playing around with some sort of designs. Because I wanted to sew it together to get this sort of like ripped effect, so it'd kind of mirror my tartan. And here it is, and lo and behold, there's lots of trends: repurposed patchwork, imperfect construction, sort of big and bold. So yes, that's the design I chose. Did some experiments of how I wanted the stripes to look. This looked too uniform for me. I also tried exposed seams to give it that kind of texture, that like but I decided to go with something like this: some exposed, some not exposed, and really random in the sense of how big they are. So here we are. Here's my final garment. Styled it with a scarf and some joggers, some details. Had a nice time outside. Then here's a sort of swatch of the kind of fabric. Again, I'm using that fraying technique. That's popped up a lot in my collection just because I just think it adds a lot of texture and just a very good touch. Some illustration here, because I just love these dangly bits off it, these drippy hangy bits. I think that's something I really enjoy. I do love the hoodie, jumper. And then here, just thinking of ways to style it. And then after that, again, I was thinking about using scraps. I wanted to do a hat like this because it was inspired by Blade Runner. So originally had an attempt, but obviously that was way too small. And then I decided to go really, really big and boxy. I think have the look. This is not made because I didn't have enough scraps to make the hat, but when I make another garment out of my fur, I will be able to make the hat. However, I did have enough for some lovely headphones. Well, not real headphones, earmuffs, should I say. And then here again, reusing waste fur because of the way you have to cut a centimetre on the fur when you sew it together. I actually get loads of waste fur because it's very like long, thick fur. So I did these embellishing techniques. So I rolled the fur up into little balls to get this technique, and it almost just creates a completely new fabric. I mean, it's still very soft, and it's soft on the other side as well, so it's generally very wearable. This one's probably my favourite because I mixed it with the scrap lining fabric, and I embellished this for a very long time. This is a lot of layers, but it's giving you this like soft, slightly glittery look, and again used some scrap. So yeah, it's just reinventing some ways to use wastage because my target customer is quite conscious about the environment and wastage. And then here it's just a page of all my CADs. And then here we just kind of have a sum up of my collection. On one of my t-shirts is actually kind of like almost like my brand philosophy and meaning, like where it came from and things like that. And then self-expression is essential. That's probably one thing that my brand hopefully screams. Just, you know, it's got no age limit. Okay, and then we have the lineup. So these are 2 outfits, because submission you have to have 4. So I picked these 4. Do really want to make this coat, and I do plan to do that in the future. But that is it. Goodbye. Over and out.